on China, there was a story over the weekend in Wall Street Journal saying that Wang Yi was no longer coming to UNGA. First, can you confirm that? Because that was the anticipation from State Department that he would come during UNGA and meet with Secretary Blinken.
It's not exactly what we said before, but let me say this. So I won't speak. I'll let the Chinese government speak to whether Wang Yi will or will not attend attend UNGA next week. But that said, whether it's at UNGA or whether it is after UNGA, sometime before the end of the year, it is still our expectation that Secretary Blinken will host Foreign Minister Wang Yi here in the United States.
Would that be in Washington then?
I don't have any meetings to announce. I'll wait until we have something firmed up that we can announce, but it's still our expectation that meeting will take place.
The fact that he's not coming to UNGA, does the administration in any way see that as something that might derail a possible Xi-Biden meeting in November?
No, we have been clear. It's sometimes difficult to speak to these because I'm asked to speak. It's not what I'm saying you're doing, but ask me to sort of speak on behalf of the Chinese government, which I will not do. I will speak for the United States and for the State Department and what our hopes and what our expectations are with respect to engagement with the Chinese government and with our Chinese counterparts. And that is, as we have said, we think it is important to engage directly in one-on-one conversations. That's why Secretary Blinken traveled to China and kicked off a series of meetings both at the cabinet level and the sub-cabinet level that have taken place since then. As the president has said, he hopes to meet with President Xi sometime later this fall. We believe there is no substitute for one-on-one conversations at the leader level. So we will continue to work towards a possibility of those meetings, but we don't have anything to confirm at this point.
Just a couple of small things on this. You mentioned 3 cabinet level U.S. officials, and I was in one of those trips, and Special Envoy John Kerry also went to Beijing, and all
one
of that.
One in addition to ours, or you mean ours?
I'm sorry?
One in addition to our meeting?
Well, I mean, 3 cabinet level plus John Kerry, and all of that happened within a span of less than 3 months, and we've seen no reciprocity, and now we learn that Wang Yi is probably not going to be coming during UNGA. Does the administration take this as a bit of a snub?
Not at all. We think it's important to continue these conversations. The conversations have been ongoing. As the secretary said, he extended the invitation to the then foreign minister when he was in China. That invitation was accepted. It has since been transferred over to the new foreign minister. We expect it to be accepted. We expect that meeting to take place. But ultimately, we can only, we think it's important to have these conversations, and we will continue to have them, and we expect them to continue to take place. But we can't speak for the Chinese government about when and where they will send their ministers. Those are decisions for them to make.
Final one, is Secretary Blinken going to meet with, I believe that was Chinese VP, who's coming instead of Wang Yi during UNGA?
I don't have any meetings to announce at this point, maybe as we get closer.
Thanks.
I was wondering, the Secretary gave a series of interviews over the weekend, CNN and ABC, what have you. I found that, you probably won't agree, but that he was at pains to, over the G20, to explain how it could have been a success when, speaking of Ukraine, Russia is not mentioned in the statement. On climate issues, it's way under par of what was expected. There wasn't the Chinese president present in India, and so my question is, do you still think it was a success or a missed opportunity?
We absolutely believe it was a success. I will just say with respect, let's take a moment. First, with respect to the statement, the G20 is a big organization. Russia is a member of the G20. China is a member of the G20. There are members that have a diverse range of views. We believe the fact that that organization was able to issue a statement that calls for respecting the territorial integrity and sovereignty and saying that those principles should not be violated is an extremely important statement, because that is exactly what is at heart of Russia's full invasion of Ukraine. It is those very questions. So we thought that was an incredibly important statement for them to make. You also saw important announcements made at the G20 about new economic arrangements between Saudi Arabia and India that the United States was a part of. And I will say, with respect to President Xi not attending, I'm not going to speak to whether President Xi should have attended or should not have attended. I will say we found it incredibly productive for President Biden and Secretary Blinken to be there engaging directly with their counterparts. As I said in response to a question a moment ago, there is no substitute for that, and we found it incredibly productive for the interests of the United States to be able to have those conversations and advance them, as the White House made public over the weekend. In addition to the sessions, the president had a number of pull-asides with leaders of other countries where we were actively advancing the foreign policy priorities of the United States, including engaging on the war in Ukraine. Yeah.
May I come back? I have two housekeeping questions for the first round, but before that, let me follow up on what you just said. Russia and China were members of that very organization last year as well. So is there any reason why we did not see?
I think if you go back and look at the statement that issued last year, there was a note, and I will need to follow up to get the exact. There was a note that Russia had abstained from that statement or did not join it. So it was a different statement last year from a different collection of countries.
Matt, just on China again, because there are so many things. The defense minister hasn't been seen in public for 2 weeks, and U.S. ambassador to Japan seems to weigh on the issue with a tweet, which makes me wonder if the United States has an assessment on the whereabouts of the defense minister and whether you officially think of him as having disappeared, whether you have any idea about his whereabouts.
I do not have an assessment of his whereabouts.
Do you have any answer to why the U.S. ambassador to Japan might have weighed on the issue?
I think Rahm Emanuel, throughout his career, has spoken in a colorful manner and continues to do so.
So are you saying this tweet was not cleared by the State Department?
I'm not going to speak to our internal clearance processes other than to say, as I said, Rahm Emanuel has always had a colorful way of speaking in all of his positions in government, and that clearly continues.
What was colorful about it?
That was fairly colorful. Abby?
Why?
I'll let my comment speak for itself, I think. Abby, go ahead.
Thanks.